Hey, how's everybody doing today? It is Monday, April 27th, and I want to welcome you to the Daily Live, and I have a wonderful guest today. And if you've ever wanted to sort of figure out how you can create rapid change in your life, sort of have the health, the relationship types of things that you want, maybe the success in your business, I think you're going to want to listen to today's guest. So with that, let me play the intro.
Hey there, it's time for Daily Live with Aaron Hunt. There has never been a time like we're experiencing right now. History is being written today. Join personal brand photographer and efficiency expert Aaron Hunt in a daily discussion focused on helping you adapt to our changing world by thinking small and dreaming big.
Okay, so joining me today is Amy Walsh, and she goes by the Healthy Hypnotist, and I'm going to bring her up here. Basically, she is a rapid transformational therapist and mindset coach. Amy, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Aaron.
Yeah,
Excited to be here.
yeah, wonderful to have you here. Again, your brand name is a little bit of the healthy hypnotist, but why don't you go into just a little bit about this rapid transformational therapy and give us a
Okay.
little bit more of an intro than what I can do.
Yeah. So I'm a rapid transformational therapist, hypnotherapist, and a mindset coach. And basically, what that means so, RTT is a unique type of therapy that combines hypnotherapy, neuro linguistic programming, cognitive behavioral therapy, and a couple other different techniques. But the primary thing that differentiates it is how fast it works. So many of us, when we think of therapy, we think of like years and years of weekly appointments and going, kind of talking about the same things over and over again. And I think traditional therapy is amazing. I think it's a great starting point.
Yeah.
But the big differentiator for RTT is it is truly designed for people that want quick change, fast change. They don't have a lot of time. So it's amazing for busy professionals, people that really just want to, they understand what their issue is, but there's something holding them back from actually making that jump. It's kind of keeping their feeling stuck and just like, they know what they need to do, but they keep sabotaging what they want. And this is
Right.
the huge thing that just gets people unstuck and gets them the kind of goals that they really desire, the kind of outcomes that they really want most.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, when we first met a few months ago now, that was one of the things that struck me is that you're about fast results, right? This isn't one of those things where it's like, well, let's develop a long-term relationship and maybe in a year we'll be able to figure out what's blocking
Yep.
some of your stuff. No, this was more like, and I think you said, there are some of your clients, it's really one visit, right? 1 to 3
Absolutely.
visits is
Yeah, absolutely. People have, like, I would say probably 60% of people that come in, and it's one visit. I do weekly follow-ups with them for 30 days. I have a couple different programs,
okay.
but then they're like on. They're changed, they're good, they're ready to move on with what they want. And then we have some other people that maybe want to work on a couple different issues and they come back. But I've never had to see anybody for more than 3 sessions for overcoming one issue.
Wow. Wow. I mean, that's just, I think for a lot of people, that's got to open some eyes and be like, wow, this is really possible. There's a way for me to maybe get some help on this. So, do you want to
Absolutely.
dig a little bit more into like, what are some of the most common types of things that you help people with?
Yeah, sure. So I would say probably the primary thing that people come in with is what they think their issue is some kind of health condition, whether it's weight loss or they want to quit smoking or they just want to work on their confidence. That's what they think their issues are. But then when we get into what the so like when we get into a session and really uncover what the root cause of those problems are, especially like anxiety. I feel like almost every single person, especially in today's day and age with COVID-19, if people are really suffering from stress, fear, chronic anxiety. But then, whenever we get into the session, like I said, and get to those subconscious roots to what their problem is or why they can't get over this anxiety, that we uncover really interesting, unique problems or what we call limiting beliefs
Yeah.
that are tied to self worth, or tied to their relationships, feeling safe in relationships, allowing themselves to feel worthy of overcoming and feeling happy. So there's a lot of different things that we uncover. It's really interesting.
Well, it's funny too, because you start getting into the limiting beliefs, and you mentioned NLP, and so when we start thinking about personal branding and a lot of the stuff that I talk to people about on a regular basis, how do they grow their business, how do they do those kind of things? There's a huge intersection there,
Oh
and
my gosh.
it's just amazing to think about all the different layers that brings up. So if you're doing this in one session with then some follow-ups, so you have some different programs, how long does the session last? I mean, what's that look and feel like?
So basically, the way it works is I would have what I call a clarity call. So we kind of do an intro call, so I can get an understanding of their history, some background on them. I have them complete an intake form, and the session itself is 2 hours long. So it's pretty intense. We
Okay.
go right back. We do what's called regression, where we go back to some scenes, get into what the root cause of what their problems are, and then we pull them out of those scenes, reframe all those emotions and limiting beliefs that are holding them back, and then instill all their positive goals. So they tell me one of the primary things on that beginning strategic call, the clarity call, is for them to tell me how they want to feel, how they want to live. Like you were talking about, people that hold themselves back in their career because of a certain way. So I would kind of coach them through talking about, I want to feel confident, I want to have an abundant money mindset. And like what we really focus on is your future self and your future goals, rather than how you have been living.
Right.
So that's the thing about hypnotherapy and positive suggestion, is we really want to put you in a place. I really coach them to put them in a place of where they want to be, not focus on where they have been. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, makes perfect sense. So I'm gonna. You mentioned a little bit of the COVID-19 and the anxiety and the stress, and so one of the things that I've talked about probably several times since I started doing these lives is part of it is just the unknown, right? There's such an unknown to this pandemic that we can't control it, and we don't know necessarily when it's going to be over. So how does that play into some of the discussions, and how have you been helping people through some of the COVID-19 specific things?
Yeah, so I would say, Aaron, with everything to do with anxiety, it's anxiety is like a fear response, a fight or flight response in our mind. And that is all, like, primarily, I would say 80% of the time rooted in control, just like what you said. So the lack of control, the not understanding what's going to happen, the unknown. So I really work with people to help them understand that there's one, first of all, our thoughts create our emotions, and our emotions create our actions, and that's what our reality is. So I really work through a lot of, like, what are their thoughts that are triggering this fear and panic and anxiety.
Okay.
We also I give them a lot of different exercises to do, but primarily I reframe the illusion of control. So everybody thinks every day you're going through your day and you can control everything, but we can't control anything. Right. You can't control the weather. You can't control if you walk outside and get hit by a car. You literally cannot control anything. So anxiety is the illusion of control and the obsession with control. But when you release that and you surrender to understanding that you're not in control, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine that you're not in control. We don't have to understand how we're going to get through this, right. But focusing on what you do have, what you're grateful for, and focusing on the things that you can control. Most people are caught right now in this, like, scarcity mentality. All we hear about is there's no toilet paper, and there's no this, and there's no that. And the reality is I don't know one person that has lost their house. Not saying that hasn't happened, but right. When you focus on all the things, we all have food, we all have electricity, we all have water. There's so many things that we do have, but when you watch the TV or the news every day, all you keep hearing about is this fear, 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 fear. Right. But I feel like, I'm 7 months pregnant right now, and I haven't had throughout this entire pandemic one day of feeling like, oh my gosh, we're not going to get through this. I'm not going to get through this. I feel very just relaxed and understanding. And hey, this is going to pass, just like the weather. Everything passes, and we're going to get through it, and we'll be fine.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you speak through it from that perspective, and from more of a professional perspective, because again, that's a lot about what we've talked about here. Is there are things you can do and things you can control. Most of it you can't. So focus on the things that you can do to move forward. Absolutely. And make progress. And so actually that maybe is a good segue. So what are some of the things that you would recommend that people do focus on versus, watching the news and worrying about when they're going to run out of toilet paper? So.
Yeah, I would just say, like I said, mind your mind every day. So I have a couple different things. I have a tool that I have downloadable on my website and through my Instagram that gives 3 kind of techniques or strategies of handling anxiety. And we'll talk through that in a second. But outside of that, just focus on 80% of our happiness in our lives comes from our relationships. So I feel like people really are stressed right now. It's like, oh, I have to homeschool the kids and my husband and I are going at it or whatever it is. But if you use this app as an opportunity to get close to the people in your life that you love most, even though we are socially distancing, most likely you're living in a home with someone or you have the availability to Zoom with people, really focus on the people that you love most. Focus on investing time in yourself. So whether that's diet, exercise, reading a book that's been sitting on your shelf for ages and ages, finishing something, the more you kind of hardly ever in our lives do we actually get time for ourselves.
Right.
I feel like most of us live in a world of super busy, no time, always running, overly booked, constantly just moving, and enjoying this time now, focusing on slowing down, enjoying the time, and really investing in yourself along with these techniques that I'm going to talk through here for a second. Awesome. So in terms of that's on the personal side, right. Focus on relationships. And then on the physical side, there's 3 things, or at least 2 things that I want to talk through with you today. So the first one, is it okay?
Yeah. And are these on the handout that I can pull up and show people?
Yes.
Here, let me pull that up then.
So Erin's going to link the handout in our live video. And like I said, it is downloadable for free on my website and on my Instagram. But so the first thing that I want to recommend for anybody with anxiety, and this one is so underrated, I can't even tell you. So the first one is just breathing. Breathing is so accessible to all of us. Breath work has been shown to reduce stress, to boost our immune systems. So right now, everybody's so stressed out about, contracting the disease. But if you just breathe every day, your body is made up of trillions and trillions of cells that all need oxygen to survive. So when we get stressed or we get tense or anxious, the first thing we do is close off our breath.
Yeah.
So just becoming mindful of our breath every day, slowing it down, that actually turns off, it allows you to intentionally turn off the part of your mind that causes anxiety and triggers you to be in that fight or flight response. So kind of the way it works with breath work. Oh, go ahead, Erin.
Well, I was going to say, so is this sort of in line with meditating on a regular basis? Is that the
Yeah. So if you meditate regularly, I feel like most guided meditations, cue the breath work.
Right.
But the main thing you want to focus on when you're doing it is just breathing in, holding your breath, and then breathing out for twice as long as you breathe in. So for example, if you breathe in for 4, hold for 4, and then make sure you breathe out for 8.
Okay.
And the more audible that you can make that, the better, because it just keeps you more intentional with your whole breath work. So at first, sometimes people feel very choked off, oh my gosh, I can't hold my breath for 4 seconds. So I would just say, start small, breathe in for 2, hold for 2, breathe out for 4, whatever you do. But you will see that your lungs are just like any other muscle. The more you use them, the more you practice, the better you become. And then you'll be able to quickly kind of shut off that anxious response just by breathing. That's why all the Apple Watches have little breathing cues now. And there's all types of tools because it's been shown so scientifically to help you reduce that fight or flight response.
Great. Awesome.
And then the second tool, do you want me to go into the second tool?
Yeah, go ahead. Go into the second tool. I find this very interesting. So.
Okay. So the second tool is super cool. And this one is, if you're in the world of mindset or meditation, I'm sure you've heard of this. This is called tapping. So tapping basically it's EFT, or the emotional freedom technique. So EFT is a technique that allows you to literally tap in to your body's energy systems, which stimulates the key meridian points. So most people know meridian points because of acupuncture. So if you've had any type of acupuncture before, you kind of understand that they're like the little energy systems that run through your body. So tapping allows you to acknowledge, release, and rewire any negative emotions you're having. So for instance, in this situation, the primary emotion most of us are having is anxiety or fear. So the way tapping works is the first thing you do is identify what your primary emotion is that you're struggling with. So for example, today I'm just going to use anxiety.
Okay.
And so you identify the emotion, you rank how strongly you're feeling that emotion. So you would be like, okay, I'm feeling really anxious today, and I'm feeling it at about an 8. And the second thing you do is you would come up with a phrase, some kind of a phrase that allows you to acknowledge the emotion and then decide how you want to feel instead. So either acknowledging the emotion and acknowledging how you want to feel about yourself, or acknowledge the emotion and acknowledge how you would prefer to feel instead of that emotion. So for example, I would say, I'm so anxious right now. I'm so anxious right now, but I love and accept myself exactly the way that I am. So what I'm doing right now is tapping on meridian points. And like I said, there's a picture in my download that tells you exactly where the meridian points are. They're the top of the head, the side of the eye, your eyebrow, under your nose, your chin, your collarbone, under your arm, and then on your karate chop point. So just working through these meridian points, all I would do is repetitively work through my phrase saying, I'm so anxious right now, but I love and accept myself the way that I am. I'm so very anxious right now, and I'm so stressed out, but I choose right now to feel relaxed despite this circumstance. So I'm so afraid. I'm so fearful about not knowing what's going on in the future, but I know that I'm capable and strong, and I trust that I can handle everything. So does that make sense? So I have a couple other different cues. I just wanted to kind of give everybody a visual, but basically, like I said, just acknowledge the way that you're feeling. It's releasing out of your body. So what happens is sometimes we never acknowledge our emotions, and we hold them in, hold them down, and push them down, and emotions won't go away. So they'll fester, and then they'll turn into bigger things like chronic pain, chronic anxiety, insomnia, all the things that we don't want. So you want to get them out, and you want to install a positive neurological pathway instead.
Right. Well, that's awesome. Thank you. So, and you're right. I'm going to put a link to that to your website in the comments or in the YouTube description. And that to me very interesting. And it's to me it's almost a way to sort of take some of the things that I do as an affirmation on a regular basis, but then use that in a way to sort of add to just sort of changing some of the mindsets that I'm having right now.
By doing this, by connecting it with your meridian points, you're taking your affirmations and putting them on steroids. You're just pumping them up and making them so much stronger in your body. So I would 100% say that's the best thing you can do. It's so easy. It's just like I said, breathing is easy. The tapping is so easy. It's free. It takes 5 minutes.
Right.
So just like everything that I do is fast. And tapping is one of those tools that really gives you something quick and it's something actionable. I feel like sometimes it's I don't know, when things get too woo-woo or whatever, and they're just like, oh, tap into the energy. And believe me, I'm a huge energy person, so I love energy stuff. But this is like, give me something to do right now to fix this right now. And that's what this stuff is, which is great.
Well, and I think that's a great point. I mean, you can actually feel that you're doing something, right? So there's not it's not just mental. There's a physical component to that. And I think even when it comes to handling some of the stress of COVID-19, being able to take action and do something that is helping you move forward, whether it's on your business or whether it's personal development, and being able to see that, I think it's really, really important. So the idea of the tapping, this is new to me, by the way. So the idea of the tapping to me is just it really gets you to the point where you can feel that you're doing something to make a difference and again, even though control is an illusion, you are controlling the way you feel right there. So.
Yeah. Another point that I wanted to make, Aaron, when you were talking, it just reminded me, like, all of our thought patterns, all of our like old limiting beliefs, sometimes I find it really helpful to remind myself that those are just old patterns. Our brain always stays with what's familiar. And whatever pattern you acquired as a kid, so whether you acquired a pattern of stress or anxiety from your parents, because anxiety is very passed down through generations of just, environmental as
Right.
well. So everything we feel is just an old pattern, and it's our job to create new patterns. So the patterns we've acquired as children are not your fault. Those are just things that you've experienced in your life. But if you want to create a new pattern and make something else new to you, or something else, like a different outcome in your life, it's your job to create something, to make something else familiar.
Right.
So you want to get out of anxiety, then it's your job to say, okay, I'm calm, I'm relaxed, I can handle this, I'm capable, I'm not helpless, I'm not hopeless. And it's your job to make those positive feelings every day part of who you are. And then your brain will just do whatever you tell it to do. So just tell it to do the right things.
Yeah, it's that simple, right? So, and honestly,
Simple,
it sounds like,
but it is possible.
yeah. Well, but and again, I'll go back to when we first met and I started having some of that discussion with you. The idea that 1 to 3 sessions is, pretty much everybody gets results with you in that amount of time. I think it shows that with the right approach, when the right focus and understanding the things that you need to look at, you can do amazing things with your mind.
Absolutely. And I think something that is not that understood by like most of us, including myself, 90% of my life, is I didn't understand the difference between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. So most of us, especially high performing professionals, are very logical. We're very action driven. We're very achiever minded. We feel that we have control over everything, and all we have to do is just work really hard and we can get it. We can get it all ourselves. And that's just our logical side. So we have very strong logical sides. We have strong egos, bigger personalities, whatever it is. But your logical mind, your conscious mind, only controls 10% of your words, thoughts, feelings, and behaviors every day. So our emotional side, which is all in our subconscious, controls 90% of what we do. So most of us think like, oh, I'm not emotional, I'm not vulnerable, I'm not this or that, but we all are, because emotions drive our behaviors. 90% of our day-to-day behavior is on that subconscious side. So the reason why this work that I'm doing with RTT is so powerful is because it focuses on your emotional side, your subconscious, removing those limiting beliefs and then installing positive emotions. So consciously, sometimes people, affirmations get a bad rap because they're like, oh, I'm saying all my affirmations, I'm journaling every day, I'm doing all the right things, but nothing's changing because there's resistance between your conscious and your subconscious. Consciously, you're saying, oh, I'm so, healthy, I'm so happy, everything's great all the time. But then your subconscious is held on to this limiting belief, whether it's a money mindset block, whether it's a confidence block, a worthiness block. This limiting belief is pulling you back, saying, no, that's not you. We're scared, we're fearful, we're this, we can't have that. That's for other people, not for us. So just by removing that, kind of like upgrading your software, the way I think about the mind is like a computer system. Wow. You can choose to run on like a, old school, Windows program, or you can be on the newest, fastest, best version of a Mac and have the newest, greatest software. It's your choice. So you want to run your subconscious is programmed by the time you're 8 years old. Most 8-year-olds I know aren't the most emotionally in tuned, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I love that image of mindset being software, right? And how can we upgrade our software? And that's essentially what you offer, and so that's a great analogy.
Yeah, it's just a quick, okay, update, install, listen to the, and I give you the tools to tell yourself the right things, to do the right things, to understand. Like so many of us, our identity comes from the things that hold us back. Like even my old, my friends and I, we always used to be like, oh my gosh, I can't do that, I'm so anxious. Like we all were anxious. We all were high strung. We all were this. Our identity was, I am anxious. I am stressed. And that is like the strongest thing you can ever say to your mind. When you put the words I am in front of it, your mind's like, oh, okay, you're anxious. Okay, I'll find more ways to make you more anxious, because it does whatever you tell it to do. It wants to keep you alive, basically. So it just wants to keep you doing whatever you've been doing to stay alive. So the better that you can say, I am capable, I am strong, I am relaxed, I'm calm, I sleep through the night. Whatever it is that you want, you can just say it. I'm healthy, I make healthy food choices, I don't self-sabotage my relationships, whatever the things are. Just removing those blocks and then reinstalling all the positive things. It really is. People think that, it's so much more complicated than that, but it's really not. It's much simpler than what we think.
That's awesome. So, every time you and I get together and start talking, it seems like we could just keep going forever. So we're about 25 minutes in. I want to give you a chance. Is there anything else that you're sort of like, hey, here's something else that I want to make sure people know about before we wrap up?
No, I would say we covered a lot of good stuff today. Just knowing that happiness is accessible to them, that success is accessible to them, that great relationship or their ideal body is accessible to them. They just have to say, yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to take the jump. I'm ready to make the leap. My office is on the North Shore of Pittsburgh. I also do virtual sessions. So right now, I know everybody is like quarantine, lockdown.
Right.
So virtual sessions, when we do everything by Zoom, like most people do nowadays, and they are just as, they work just as well. I've never had any difference in terms of outcome from virtual sessions than face-to-face. So I'm here for you. I believe in you guys. I believe that everybody that can have the life that they want, that they deserve, that they desire. So just reach out.
Awesome. So yeah, I'll put links to your website, Facebook, Instagram, all of those fun things where people can find you. And again, I usually try to hold this to about 25 minutes. So we're going to wrap it up, but I want to wish you well. And, I know you got a couple months left in your pregnancy. So odds are we're not going to see each other in person until after that. So congrats there.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate you being here. And again, I'm gonna let you go at this point and sort of wrap up the show. So
perfect.
Thanks, Amy.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yep, no problem.
Have a great
Thank
day,
you,
everybody.
So hey, I hopefully you guys find that as interesting as I did, because the perspective of how Amy looks at things and the fact that she really focuses on getting fast results, I thought it'd be really helpful for you guys to hear her perspective on things. And so with that, I want you to enjoy the rest of your Monday, figure out some ways that you can do some positive things to move forward, let go of the illusion of control, stay safe, and I will see you tomorrow. Thanks.